In quantum physics, what is known as the observer effect, which causes the collapse of the wave function, which is an interaction between the knowledge which we have about the world, which is related to our consciousness, and the underlying physical reality. It's kind of a mystical singularity within physics, absolutely mystical, because it's absolutely irrational. Normally physical laws and science is mathematical, is logical, is rational. This is what describes the deterministic or causal development of the Schrödinger equation, which describes an underlying deterministic world. So on this level, the old worldview of the physicist is still okay, on the level of the Hilbert space, on the level of the wave function. But then somebody comes and looks at the whole thing. He looks at the universe, he looks at the atom, he looks at his experiment, and this looking at it, this showing an interest by a conscious observer, suddenly causes the whole system to break down in an irrational way, in a completely non-deterministic, acausal way. So this event, which is called the quantum jump, which is called the quantum leap, which is called the collapse of the wave function, which is called the observation, cannot be described by any law. It is absolutely free. Anything can happen and nobody knows why, nobody knows the cause. Some people try to prove that it doesn't have a cause, that it even cannot have a cause, and others like Einstein were fighting for that there must be still a cause for it. David Bohm tried to develop the idea of an implicit order to save the causal principle to some extent. He was continuing the work of Einstein. But I believe we are facing a very fundamental problem here, that we try to describe a world which is deeply mystical, which is deeply acausal, which is not just deterministic. We are trying to describe it in a completely formal, rational way. And the more we're doing it, the more we are facing this whole life is based on events, on quantum events, which are absolutely not reproducible, which are completely out of any statistic. Science, quantum physics, is only describing statistics about possible events. So if you have a certain situation in your life and you repeat it exactly the same 1 million times, then you can say what is the probability of what or which outcome. But we cannot do this. Life is always unique. Each event in our life, each moment is unique and not reproducible. Therefore, the laws of science actually don't really apply to our life, but there is some mystical force behind it, which you might call the self, which you might call the spiritual reality. Some people call it karma, others call it God. There is a level of reality which we can never eliminate, and which gives us a clue to the real source of suffering and also to the real source of healing. So quantum physics is very mystical, and Time is a device based on quantum physics which shall not completely remove this mystical veil which is hiding the underlying mystical background of reality, but which shall give us a clue for communication with it, so that we are not just we don't just have to run away from it or just completely surrender in fear, but we can start an active dialogue with this underlying level of reality which is a part of ourselves, and overcome the split within our consciousness, and in this way overcome the cause of suffering.